Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. I'm Shamela Pullen. Here's what we have in the bulletin.
Majority of students involved in Tuesday's bus crash released from hospital. Children's advocate warns of surge in youth mental health crisis. And later in sports, Mount Pleasant FA through to semifinals of CONCACAF Caribbean Cup.
Now the details. Nearly 1,000 young people reached out to the Safe Spot helpline in less than a month. According to children's advocate Dan Gordon Harrison, the majority have been seeking mental health support. Details in this report. The Office of the Children's Advocate is reporting a surge in calls to its Safe Spot helpline, with nearly 1,000 children and teens reaching out for help between August 1 and 25 this year. According to the latest data, a total of 999 young people contacted the service during that period, with approximately 70% seeking support for mental health-related issues.
When we drill down into the breakdown of those mental health concerns, suicide is second only to those calling about their own well-being support, and that number was 372. But right next to that, we had 178 of our children reaching out to say that they had had suicidal thoughts or they had actually attempted suicide. We have 80 of them saying that they were calling about concerns about themselves, and another 44 for self-esteem issues.
Mrs. Gordon Harrison says the figures show that there is a serious mental health crisis among young people, particularly teenagers. She says this is not something that can be ignored.
What we've been doing at the Office of the Children's Advocate directly through Safe Spot is to provide direct intervention and support via counseling, emotional direction, and affirmations. And what is very, very instructive to us is that of the 999 children who reached out to us, we were able to resolve 899 of their problems.
Mrs. Gordon Harrison is also calling on parents and guardians to be more vigilant, urging them to pay closer attention to the emotional well-being of their children. She's also urging them to seek help early when signs of distress appear.
We are looking at this as a very serious issue, one that needs to be arrested. And, to say that parents and persons who are in the spaces of children need to be very aware of any mood swings, any particular changes, any particular weight that they seem to be carrying. And let's get help early, because they are escalating in their minds issues that sometimes with discussion could really be averted.
Vice Chairman of the National Road Safety Council, Dr. Lucian Jones, is raising concerns about the condition of vehicles transporting children and the worrying increase in collisions. This follows Tuesday's accident along the Dublin-Castlemaine Road in St. Andrew, where a highest bus carrying students from two schools developed mechanical problems and overturned. Several children received minor injuries, while the driver suffered burns to his hands and back.
What happened then yesterday on the Dublin-Castlemaine Road in Gordontown to the students from St. Martin de Porres Primary and Louis Bennett Coverley Primary School ought to be a wake-up call, in effect, for this nation in how we treat road safety.
Meanwhile, Mr. Jones is warning about a rise in collisions island-wide, noting an uptick since May. He referenced a recent fatal crash in which a woman's car went over a precipice after a collision.
Of motor vehicles and motorcyclists need to face swift sanctions, sure sanctions, and severe sanctions if they continue to ignore the provisions under the New Road Traffic Act. That's the only way we're going to get a significant change in the culture of speeding and recklessness in this country.
Meanwhile, Member of Parliament for East Rural St. Andrew, Juliet Holness, says most of the students involved in yesterday's crash have been released from hospital. The driver of the bus and his child remains in hospital. It's understood that they received burns.
The other 18 children are doing fairly okay. Their costs will be fully covered, and their prescriptions will be picked up as well for them to ensure that those who have any issue of pain at all will be comfortable tonight. In the event anyone needs to be seen by the hospital again, they have been informed to reach out and come back.
Sharp criticism at the UN's 80th General Assembly. The president of Suriname is condemning U.S. airstrikes in Caribbean waters and urging world leaders to reject military force in favor of dialogue. O'Shane Masters reports.
So far, the U.S. has carried out 3 airstrikes this month, including one that killed 11 people on September 3. Human rights group Amnesty International says the actions by the U.S. amounts to unlawful extrajudicial executions under international law. Now, U.S. President Donald Trump has argued that the vessels targeted were transporting drugs. President of Suriname Jennifer Gerling Simmons, in her maiden address at the opening of the UN General Assembly, condemned the action.
Suriname strongly reiterates its position that conflicts should primarily be resolved through dialogue. And we remind the international community that Latin America and the Caribbean are proclaimed a zone of peace. We do not want military aggression in our region.
She also pointed to the ongoing crisis in Haiti.
Haiti is still paying a hefty price for being the first to throw away the shackles of slavery in the region of the Caribbean. Our hearts go out to the people of Haiti.
In the meantime, Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, notes that the globe is facing a multiplicity of crises to include conflict, climate change, and poverty.
As we meet, civilians are targeted and international law trampled in Gaza, the Ukraine, Sudan, and beyond. To meet these challenges, we must not only defend the United Nations, we must strengthen it. And that is the purpose of Agenda 2030, the Pact for the Future, and the UN80 initiative, to renew the foundations of international cooperation and to ensure that we can deliver for people everywhere.
O'Shane Masters, TVJ News.
Employees working for a fish farm in St. Elizabeth staged a protest on Tuesday outside the company's property. They are demanding monies owed to them, Karen Simpson reports.
Employees of Dencon Aquaculture Limited are up in arms over monies owed to them. On Tuesday, they staged a protest outside the property. They say no information has been forthcoming from the management. The fish farm, located in Barton Isles in St. Elizabeth, shuttered its doors last year due to bankruptcy. But the workers say the management has failed to keep to the promised timeline for the redundancy payments.
We used to work with Algix. Him come and buy over the farm and say him would respond to everybody we used to work with the farmer Algix. So him come now with him own company, which is Dencon Agriculture. And we do a couple of years with him too. And now, we're supposed to, him say I'm going to close off. So we're supposed to get whatever we're supposed to get from him now.
Last time we keep him and close off. He said end the month we'll get the money. And until today, we don't get any money.
That has been more than a year. They say several texts and calls to the owner have gone unanswered, and so they took matters into their own hands.
We go Ministry of Labor and Ministry of Labor, we write some letter and we bring it to court, right? And right now, we don't get any justice. And I know me can't understand what I want.
There's a lot of things they move from the farm and they say they would have sell it to pay us until today.
Our news center contacted owner of Dencon Aquaculture Limited, Herschel Cyrus.
When we bought the farm, a redundancy was paid out because one of the requirements that we had was that the previous owner had to take care of the redundancy of the staff because, we weren't going to keep everybody. Right now, what happened is that subsequent to that, now we took some persons on a short-term contract. You're looking at an operation that is basically bankrupt. Now in order to pay any monies, those monies would have to come from elsewhere to pay it. And this so-called promise of payment, we have not had any video where we promise anybody any payment.
Mr. Cyrus said after the company was closed, operations continued until 3 months ago. He said those workers were engaged to secure some of the company's physical assets but have been paid off.
Even those same staff who worked up until the last, they are not owed. The lease and stuff like that, a lot of large payments, crucial payments had to be closed out. Do you understand? So it's a matter of scheduling, right, to see when we can get to them. We couldn't go and promise that they're going to get paid next week.
Carrie-Ann Simpson, TVJ News.
It's time for a break. Stay with us. More stories when we return. Welcome back to the Midday News. It's now time for the Business Minute.
The Companies Office of Jamaica says it is closely monitoring all registered companies, both active and dormant, to protect against fraud. Chief Executive Officer of the Companies Office of Jamaica, Shelley Leon, gave the update on Tuesday.
In very short order, we are going to be doing a massive cleanup of our registers because some dormant companies, we are finding that even though they don't make returns, they don't have an actual office that they operate from, some of them might have property. And so we're cooperating with, for example, the National Land Agency because these dormant companies, they are a gateway for fraud to be committed. So there are persons who find out that the companies are dormant, make certain changes, they take people's property, etc. So we monitor both dormant and active, and we are working with other partners in that effort.
Further afield, chip maker NVIDIA plans to invest up to $100 billion in artificial intelligence company OpenAI in a strategic partnership. The funding will help OpenAI build data centers to train and run AI models like those that power its ChatGPT. The first phase is expected to come online in the second half of next year. For the Business Minute, I'm Shane Masters.
And here's a preview of what's coming up in this evening's health report. In this evening's health report, we look at hair loss or alopecia.
If you are 40 as a woman, you need to understand that your hair is going to thin. So your cosmetologist, who should be aware of this factor, would know that they cannot put a chemical in the crown of your head of a woman of 40, 45, 50. The way they did when you were 20, because your hair is going through hormonal changes. They ought to remember that, and they are going to have to adjust their chemicals that they use on the hair and how they apply the chemical to the hair.
That's the health report in Primetime News at 7. And now for today's healthy living tip. Use gentle hair care products. Manage your stress. Eat a balanced diet and protect your hair from damage. Time now for the top stories from around the world.
The heads of governments within the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, OECS, in partnership with the Citizenship by Investment CBI program, have signed an agreement to further strengthen the integrity, transparency, and sustainability of the program. The leaders of the 5 countries, namely Antigua and Barbuda, Dominica, Grenada, St. Lucia, and St. Kitts and Nevis, say the establishment of a regional regulatory authority is part of the reforms that were developed Through extensive regional and international consultations with CBI industry stakeholders and international partners such as the United States, the United Kingdom, and the European Commission. On the international scene, Typhoon Ragasa has made landfall in China, where around 2 million people have been evacuated. At least 17 people have died in Taiwan after a lake burst, causing severe flooding in the east. Geologists are describing it as a tsunami from the mountains. A month's worth of rain is expected Wednesday. Ragasa has weakened from super to severe typhoon status, but remains highly destructive with top winds of 150 miles per hour. And those were the top regional and international stories. I'm Prince Moore.
Thank you, Prince. We take another break. Sports is next.